Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 22nd episode of the Stack to E podcast. In this episode, we have with us Raju Kandasamy, who's a lead consultant at ThoughtWorks, and he has been doing a lot of work with reinforcement learning, XR, and robotics. So I wanted to have a chat with him to understand, as someone who is personally not really used or even dabbled into reinforcement learning, understand a bit more about what reinforcement learning is all about, and also get an understanding of how and where he's applying it to AR, VR, and robotics kind of applications, or beyond those applications as well, right? So I wanted to talk about it and learn a bit about it as well. Hey, thank you, Raju. Welcome to the podcast. Uh,
Hey, thanks, Manoj.
sure, and thanks for taking the time as well. And can we start by talking a bit about yourself? Can you talk about you and the work that you've been doing, and probably lead up to the current work that you're doing?
Sure, Manoj. I'm Raju Kandasamy. I'm working with ThoughtWorks as a lead consultant. Right now, I'm working in the space of XR, known as extended reality in ThoughtWorks. Prior to ThoughtWorks, I was running my own startups. Two of them, one was in the field of XR, which produced VR experiences, and other was in the field of industrial robotics, where we built and deployed a Cartesian robot as a product for industrial applications. Overall, I have 2 decades of experience in IT, a few years on and off with machines and robotics, and I have masters in software systems from BITS Pilani. That's about me.
All right, thanks for that introduction. And so let's like get into the primary topic of the podcast, right? So can we, just to be on the same page, can we talk about what is reinforcement learning, and at a higher level, like how does it fit into the whole machine learning landscape? And I think the latest current buzzes around mostly around deep learning and all that, right? So how does it differentiate itself from deep learning? So what are the key takeaways here? And probably you could also help us distinguish what is reality and what is buzzwords here.
Okay. I'll start with the simplest question, that is, what is reinforcement learning? Okay, so in simpler terms, it's a behavioral enforcement or correction techniques that we humans already follow in our day-to-day life. For example, to appreciate a good behavior, we give chocolates to the kids, and to correct a bad behavior, we make the child, write an imposition or something like that, right? So this is our rewarding mechanism. Similarly, in machine learning, reinforcement learning is a technique where we rigorously train a neural network to take autonomous decisions by behavioral enforcement or correction. A simplest example would be in the game of chess, where the number of moves or actions are predefined, and we need to assess the state of the chessboard and make our next move. So if you need to build an artificial intelligence that could play the game of chess, then reinforcement learning is the way to go. So in a nutshell, I'll just put us in simpler words. Reinforcement learning is made of three basic building blocks. Okay, the first being neural network. I'm not going to deep dive into the building blocks, so just a basic understanding is good enough for you to get started. So the three building blocks for reinforcement learning. The first one being neural network. The second one is a deep learning algorithm, and the third one, and the important of all three, is a statistical modeling technique called MDP, Markov decision process. Uh, uh, Out of these three, neural network and deep learning, doesn't need any introduction, because that's already umpteen number of resources available out there where you can go ahead and learn yourself. I'll just touch upon this MDP, which is the key point which you need to understand better in order to use in reinforcement learning effectively. Um, Markov decision process has three key elements. The first is the environment. The second is a set of possible actions. Then the third is a agent, and there is a fourth one which is called a reward. Okay. Um, so uh, to put all these four in relative terminology, uh, the environment is to be observed, and depending upon the state of the environment, there is a set of actions to be made, and the agent will take an action and for the action taken, the agent will receive a reward. Let's take the example of chess, which we touched upon earlier. We have a chessboard, and assume that we are in the mid of the game where the players have already made moves, and now the current state of the chessboard is very unique. Okay, with respect to the positions of the pawns at the different places, and this is what we call an environment, and the state of the environment. And there are possible, what are the possible actions? The possible actions are the pawn movements, the next possible pawn movements. What is the agent is nothing but the player. If the A is playing it, then the A will be called as an agent. What would be the reward when the A makes the move? The checkmate or the capture is the reward. Okay, but if the capture or checkmate is by the opponent, then it becomes the penalty. Okay, so by using this MDP and deep learning, reinforcement learning, it can build an AI and make automatic decisions. So that's about reinforcement learning in a nutshell. To bring this reinforcement learning to a overall picture of machine learning. So machine learning, typically it has three major categories: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and then comes the reinforcement learning. So the fun thing about reinforcement learning is that nobody gave it enough attention, like the first two, supervised and unsupervised learning. Whenever you say machine learning, everyone you quickly jump into conclusion like it would be either supervised learning and or unsupervised learning. But this reinforcement learning started gaining attention after a particular event. In the year 2015, there was an artificial intelligent AI built by Google, which was named AlphaGo. This AlphaGo has beaten a Go champion in record time. So this AlphaGo was built using reinforcement learning. That was the moment in time when this entire reinforcement learning received a buzz. It doesn't mean that it got invented at that particular point in time. The reinforcement learning was there from 1950s. It's just that it was not, widely popular or not being used, widely. This was the historical moment where people got recognized. Oh, so this stuff is really capable, right? You are, and AlphaGo Go is a a real complex game like chess, even complexer than chess. So if a AI can beat world class player, then it has got the capability, right? So that's how the reinforcement learning started gaining attention in the machine learning picture.
Yeah, thanks, Raju. I think that set a lot of context on reinforcement learning. Is I think I could make some head or tail out of it. So just to touch upon that last point, right? So how do you? There is also neural networks involved here, but how does it compare to deep learning, or is it even? There's no point
So
even comparing it because it's like also a part of it.
yeah, so reinforcement learning dates older than deep learning. Okay, it can exist even without deep learning, but the current scenario, all the implementation including AlphaGo, it makes use of deep learning as a building block. So that's what I described earlier. When you start learning reinforcement learning, the three building blocks are neural network, deep learning, and then MDP, Markov decision process. So deep learning is integral part of RL. So what it enables, the deep learning actually enables reinforcement learning to model complex problem scenarios. So, for example, if let's take a case of autonomous driving, right? So the autonomous driving has several problems to be solved, like lane detection, obstacle detection, moving obstacle detection, object detection, automatic parking, right? So all it has got several things. So you pick up one particular problem space, say lane detection. right? See, this learn detection itself has got a lot of nuances and problems to it. Every country has its own way of representing learns, right? Some of them are painted, some of them not painted at all, some of them goes by width of the road, right? In some countries there are no road at all, right? So this is a very complex problem to model. So this is where the deep learning comes into picture, where it enables reinforcement learning to model these complex scenarios in much better way by providing additional hidden layers so that the problem space can be better modeled. And in MDP, as I already told you, MDP works based on this reward model. Whenever there is a successful completion or successful action taken, the MDP receives a reward. Okay, or if the action is failure, then it gets a penalty. The way this reward or penalty is stored in the neural network is by back propagating. Okay, hey, listen, for the last action that you have given me, this is the reward that I got. Now you go ahead and correct your neural network in such a way that in the future actions that I take, I get more of this reward. Okay, this is how where the deep learning comes into picture, where it takes the reward and back propagates, adjusts the neural network's weights, models the entire problem scenario in a optimized way so that the next action will always give you a better chance of getting the reward. So
Got it.
that's how, yeah, it fits into the picture.
Good. Makes sense. I think that gives a pretty good picture on where RL sits in the whole ML landscape and how it compares with deep learning. I think, yeah, that was pretty useful. So, like we have mentioned, your primary area of work is in XR, which is AR and VR, I assume, right? And into robotics, right? So, can you talk a bit about how we are using RL into it, and how big a picture does RL take within these areas that you are working on?
Okay. So before I get into the space of XR, so I'll introduce one more key term called digital twin. Okay. Let's take the case of this autonomous vehicles, which is driverless cars, right? Let's take this problem space. So if you are solving a problem of, say, automated parking, okay. So in the automated parking scenario, the driverless car or the AI, artificial intelligence, has to detect an empty parking slot. Then from the current position, it has to automatically drive itself to the empty parking slot. Okay, this is the problem scenario, right? So if I have to train the AI to solve this problem, earlier, prior to reinforcement learning, you have to set up a real world parking lot, and you need to set up AI within a real car and make it observe the parameters, and someone need to manually drive and record the actions and train the AI. This is how it used to happen. But in this scenario, the problem is that one is that the setting up duplicate or a fake environment is really really costly. And in the case of accidents, right, the damage costs are really high, and the time takes to resume the training, right, it is really larger. So to address this problem effectively, recently, the industry started moving towards a term called digital twins. Digital twins are nothing but they simulate the real world environment, but in the digital space. Okay, but they will have the real world physics attributes like gravity, acceleration, velocity, mass. So all these will be simulated, but they will exist as a in the digital form. The car itself will be there in the digital form. It will still have mass, it will still have it will still react to the gravity, it will accelerate, it will break, right? So all these things can be modeled, and the entire parking lot scenario can be built within the simulation system. Now this is what we call as digital twin. The tool or technology that enables to create a digital twin is the XR, extended reality. Extended reality tools is where you start cooking up these virtual environments, the simulation environments. Like, okay, this particular parking slot has 100 slots, and in this slot, for every episode there will be 30 cars randomly parked, and there will be two or three cars moving, and there will be moving human beings across the parking lot. So this simulation or creating the digital twin, XR is the space wherein this digital twins are created. Then comes the training framework. So the XR environments nowadays, like Unity and Unreal Engine, they have their their own ML training frameworks. You hook that ML training frameworks, they hook to this digital twin. Once you start simulating, they will start learning from the simulated environment. So what this enables us to do is quickly set up the simulation environment, quickly train the UI, and in case of accidents, there are no damages, because everything happens virtually, right? It's all simulation. There are no damage. The time to recover, it's just a split seconds. So building the AI is really super quick, and you are able to do that without spending even a penny on the ground. But this is the first level where you train the AI. Ultimately, once the AI gets trained, you need to take it to the next controlled environment. That is definitely there, but the problem of doing it at the first level itself is solved. You might have already heard that Uber is has built a fake city, the entire city, to train its autonomous vehicles. But in that case also, Uber has first trained the AI using simulated environments, using XR, and then only they deployed it to the fake city. So this is how RL actually saves a lot of cost and time for robotics and autonomous vehicles.
All right. So a question that I have is, I mean, it made a lot of sense that we are using XR to actually simulate the environment. I think when I was thinking of what are the applications, it's flipping it around, right? This actually becomes part of the training now, right? So that
Yes.
made a lot of sense, which is something I was wondering about. But so there are also other cars in that environment, for example, the car parking scenario, right? So how are they simulated? Like there's some sort of like a chicken and egg kind of thing, right? So if I'm going to
So
park, say someone other car is also coming
yeah,
to park, what is going to happen there?
so that's where this MDP comes into picture, Markov decision process, right? In Markov decision process, there is an environment and there is an agent. Agent is nothing but the AI. The environment can contain anything. Environment can model a moving human being, moving cars, trees, barriers, obstacles, uh, everything, even water, anything, and everything under the sun can be simulated in the environment, in the digital twin.
All right. Okay, got it. So it's going to become like a factor of how complicated the simulation system can be
Yes,
also then.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. And then so does that now lead into robotics, which is the actual application of it, or what are the primary applications that you are working in the robotics
uh,
area, or is it purely about RL into things like autonomous driving that you are focusing on?
Autonomous driving and robotics are just the few samples in which reinforcement learning
Hmm.
can be applied. But there are other scenarios. I think that we can talk about later part in this session. But right now, digital twins is the space, where XR and reinforcement learning are gelling together to make the artificial intelligence.
All right. And so generally, when someone is trying to start working with RL and with simulating the environment, so what are the actual problems? I suppose there is obviously going to be some mismatch between the simulated environment and the actual environment. That is
Yes.
going to be obvious problem. So what are the other challenges, and are there being cases where historically, or like as we start to implement it, we are finding that there could be cases where it doesn't work well in the real world? What's your take on those, and what's your personal experience on such things?
Yeah, plus on to that, Manoj, because the challenge with simulation and the real world scenario, if not carefully executed, can cause a lot of damage. Take the case of autonomous vehicle itself. However good you model, you always may or can miss out important real world element. Okay, so that's where modeling the environment and problem statement makes really important. Say for example, let's take the case of autonomous parking. Okay, you model the parking space, you model the moving cars, you modeled cars allotted in the parking slot and everything, but you forgot to bring the concept of moving human beings in the parking lot. Okay, you forgot to simulate that. AI has learned it. Now you deployed that into your real world environment. It could, this can be even cause casualty, right? So it becomes really important to really producing the AI is not a big deal. It's
Mm.
just a plain computing power and time. But modeling the problem, what are all the features that are going into the environment? What is the state that we are giving the AI to observe? All these things will make a real difference when training RL. And that is going to be the challenge, because that needs the expertise for that particular area. The autonomous vehicle is just one sample that I'm throwing at, but if you take other samples, like it is being now applied to sectors like finance as well, stock market, stock broking, right? And if you don't know stock broking and the nuances and futures
Mm.
that comes into stock broking, right, your model might fail in the real time. So it really important that you bring the expertise on that field, and combined with RL, that you can provide a convincing artificial intelligence.
All right. So I didn't know or realize that the 2015 AlphaGo thing was what made RL more like a bust term that everyone was talking about. So with that in mind, and now we are 5 years into it already, and obviously just like machine learning, neural networks were also like existing for a long time, and now more recent with recent advances, they started getting popularity again, right? So I think that is a similar scenario as well. But where do we see the whole RL landscape evolving towards in the next 5-10 years? And do we expect it to be like as powerful as what we are thinking it to be? Are we going to see sort of like what they call as a AI winter, right? So that kind of equivalent going ahead. Where do you think? What's your gut feel on things?
Okay, so I'm not seeing RL as an independent entity that it can will take over something and make a big deal. It is
Mm.
going to be always a combination of things. RL combined with CNN, RL combined with
Mm.
supervised learning. Okay, that it's going to be like that. Even in the case of, if you take the autonomous driving sample, object detection and classification needs supervised or unsupervised learning. Okay, so it is also always going to be a mixture of technologies, or there'll be trade-offs. So right now, RL is, we see it's being extensively used in the fields of gaming and robotics, as we already mentioned. And it has started to find its application space, as I mentioned, in the space of finance, especially in stockbroking scenarios, and also in the retail segment is using RL to make recommendation engines in the e-commerce portals. So what is that recommendation that I can make to this user, so that the chances of the user buying from one of the recommendation is high? That's where RL comes into play, and it's really smart at it. And so these are all the places where RL is already started making a difference, and we see a lot of adoption in this space. Even the Netflix application that you day to day use, right? The movie recommendations are coming out of RL.
Okay.
Observing your watching habit, RL produces the the recommendations. So the recommendations engines are more and more built using RL. So I see definitely RL has a promise for the near future, the next 5 years. For a long term, we already see that RL might even find a space in the medical and healthcare sector in the space of telemedicine applications, and there is the possibilities are more that you are going to be, or you may be talking to an AI to prescribe or diagnose your medical condition in telemedicine.
I think 2020 is accelerating that, right?
Yes, yes. So these things used to be there in different forms. They
Mm.
called expert systems in the past, but they were all failures because
Mm.
they were all, you know, algorithm driven, and they had a lot of flaws into it. But RL comes with the power of behavioral correction and enforcement, right? So with all the data that is available out there on the telemedicine and things, we can use that data to train an AI which can prescribe you or diagnose you for your medical condition over the air. The possibilities are more, but it will take a bit of a long term, like a decade, that I would put it. But the earlier you start, you have advantage of making it a reality.
All right. So, just a question around, like, if someone is interested in RL or even to see what it is all about, right? What would be a course or hands-on activity that they could try, which is like very easy to approach, so that like someone can try it out and see what it is about at a very high level. I know that like in 2018 or 19, AWS introduced that RL car or something for as part of their AWS RL training service. They also started selling a car, right? But I don't think that made a lot of traction. Also, is there anything similar to that? Anything else that someone could actually try out and use?
Yes, definitely. So the for the starters, I really recommend Unity. Unity is a game engine, and the best way to learn RL is by developing games. That
Okay.
is where it really excels at.
And by games, you
And
mean the AI that a player has to face. Is
yes,
that what you're
yes,
talking
yes,
about now?
Ye-
Okay, training that.
yes. You can design your own board game,
Hmm.
maybe
Yeah.
chess or chess like board games,
Hmm.
where AI plays as an opponent.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay, you can cook up games like that, even not only those cases, but cases like you build a board game, and where the AI can suggest your next move,
Hmm.
right? There is a help option
All
which
right.
is
Correct.
always
Hmm.
provided by, right? So traditionally all these recommendations were given by algorithm driven, which observe the state of board using graph models, right? They are
Yeah.
really computationally intensive,
Intensive.
and
Yeah.
that will take a lot of time.
Hmm.
But RL models can solve it like just like that.
Hmm.
So that is the best place you can start, and Unity provides free tutorials on this. Unity has a framework called ML Agents, and how to use ML Agents by building a game that is already there. Learn.unity.com.
All
This
right.
is the URL. You can visit it, and it's free. After it used to be a premium service, but in the COVID period, they made it free to make people to upskill
Okay.
their thing. So it's available. It's free. You can get your hands dirty with it. I'm recommending game because that's the quickest way you can learn, because it's
Hmm.
fun, right?
Hmm. All
All
right.
that it takes is not more than 1 or 2 days.
All right.
2 days you will be up and running on this.
Okay. So you were mentioning about it not being very computationally intensive and all, right? So that reminded me to ask a question around. We see that Apple and Google are making a push for having like TensorFlow, Core ML, etc. on mobile, right? And a lot of times we see that even during the iPhone announcement with the chip and all, a lot of focus is on running ML on the device, right? Has there been a similar push to enable RL? Is there anything specific that is needed? What is
Uh,
happening in that area on running RL on a mobile device and all that?
there's nothing RL to this. This is more a statement for the neural network. Okay,
Mhm.
so it's about persisting the trained
Sensors
AI.
and okay,
Okay, see, RL is a training methodology. Okay,
yeah,
it allows you to train it. The result of the training, you save it as a neural network. So
yeah,
that's where things like TensorFlow,
mm,
PyTorch, and things like that comes into picture, where they are the ones which construct the neural network. The It is the building block, and they are persisted in the storage as models, right? So TensorFlow and PyTorch being the popular ones, running these trained models in mobile is really a challenge. I would agree. The ones that run in the computers will not run in the mobile because of the ARM architecture and the limited processor power that is available there. But TensorFlow has really made a real push towards this, and they have something called a TF Lite. You can convert all your TF models into TF Lite models, which are meant for mobile. And ML Core is also such a push. So they are all mobile optimized storage models of AI. Immaterial of whether you are training with the supervised learning or RL.
So all those efforts will automatically carry over to RL also. Yeah,
Yes.
makes sense. Yeah. Okay, got it. So I think I've had all the questions around RL to be asked. So could we touch upon the robotics work that you're doing? Anything to talk about at a high level there? What is your primary focus in that area?
So in the robotics, the primary area of focus is object detection. So in the industrial use cases, even if you deploy a robot, the challenge is that when the product configuration changes, you need to reprogram the robot. Okay. For instance, take a simple pick and place robot, which takes an object from one conveyor belt and put it in the another conveyor. For the robot to recognize, so it makes use of the gripper, right? It has to grip at the right pressure so that it can pick the object and place it. What if the dimension of the object changes? Right, it has to make that adjustment, and also make the adjustment to detect the object. And also it has to detect an orientation of the object. It has to pick and place it in a sorted or arrange it in a particular order in the package. Then it has to detect the orientation of the product that is coming in. So all these are the problems that are being solved in the robotic space. Where RL comes into play is in the sorting behaviors. So you can reward the RL if it sorts it's correctly, if it detects the orientation correctly. If it sorts wrongly, then you give a penalty. So it learns, right? So that sorting and packaging is a very good problem space to be solved by RL.
All right, got it. Yeah, thanks again, Raju. I think you gave a pretty good intro for me, at least, and for a lot of folks probably listening also. A good intro to RL. I think you've given me some things to try out also. So thanks a lot again. Thanks for taking the time. Yeah. Any other closing thoughts from your side?
Thanks, Manoj. I think that's really fantastic setup to share this with the community. Appreciate your time and the opportunity. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks to you also, and good luck with the work that you're continuing to do on RL robotics. Yeah, looks interesting as well, and interesting to see where you are in the next few years and what you're trying out. Thanks. And see you.